but you're still hurt though. Years ago, um, I was watching news, and a gentleman was on. I think he was a neuropsychologist or just one of these brain guys, right? We'll just call him a brain guy. And he said something that stood out to me, and I looked it up. And he said, the brain processes, the brain processes rejection the same way it processes physical pain. And I thought that was astonishing. Many people are adults. We're talking about 25 and older, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're still resentful about who didn't want them in high school, who didn't want them in college. Y'all have heard Mr. Z say this on different platforms before, right? But it is that interesting that many people are still dealing with the fact that they were not the popular it person in high school. They weren't sought after so much in college. And even in their young adulthood after college, if they went to college, they weren't necessarily deemed to be the most attractive. And many people are still chasing after that image. You meet those people throughout your adulthood, the people that refer to 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 high school as this thing that they didn't get to complete the way they wanted to, right? They're always chasing after essentially being the popular kid in high school. They're always chasing after the high school girl they didn't get, or the college dude that overlooked them and didn't pay them any mind. And this means something for many of us, men, black men in particular. We really don't know how much when you and your boys are in school, and you're kind of standing on a corner, and you're looking at some of the women you find attractive pass by, and you might be making comments about it. The girls around you hear it, and the ones that see themselves as unattractive, or they think others see them as unattractive, there grows a little bit of resentment in them, a little bit of anger, a little bit of longing. They want to be that girl. They want to be that woman as they get older. Same thing for the men, but we've made movies about those men, right? We have jokes about those particular men. We have music about those particular men. But we never really talk about the women, right? I call it rejection PTSD, right? And rejection PTSD is a real thing. And excuse my background, I'm in the car. Rejection PTSD is a real thing. Because as Ostefko told us in her video, no one really called her ugly to her face. But she felt ugly, and people treated her as if she was such. And when I say feel ugly, it's not that she looked in the mirror and thinks that she is. It's that people treated her as such. And she was made to feel that way because she wasn't getting pretty girl privileges. As when you're a child, your parents tell you, well, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. And so there are men, young men, that are heeding that warning, right? And excuse my background, excuse the clicking you guys hear, my apologies. But once again, let me say that one more time. Your parents tell you if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. We're all told this. And even though many young men are adhering to this, there's girls in high school and college that you don't find attractive, so you don't say anything to them. You're not being rude to them or mean to them. You're not approaching them. If it's a project that you guys have to work on, you work on it with them, but there's nothing really to be said to them. What we don't understand is those women see that as rejection. Those young women, excuse me. And when we get into college, those adult women, young adult, but adult women, still see that as rejection. So just because you're not saying anything mean or rude, you're not necessarily being somebody that's insulting or demeaning, it doesn't mean anything. Because they still feel the energy of not being wanted and not being sought after. And oftentimes it's by you individually, because they want you. You know, these are the type of things that we don't often talk about, especially in the Black community. That trauma, that feeling of desire that many people have, and when it goes unfulfilled for years, maybe even a couple decades, the resentment that builds because you want that type of woman or you want that type of man and you can't have them. Or you can have them for a short time, but what you want with them, the relationship you want to form, it never comes to pass. That's real. You know, and I'll read you guys this real quick. We all know that rejection hurts, but neuroscience has concluded that it does in fact literally hurt. While the brain does not process emotional pain and physical pain identically, the reaction and cascading events are very similar. And there you go. And there you go. Once again, the brain processes rejection the way it processes physical pain. This is something that we all need to take into account, especially for those of you with children that are in their teens, they're entering high school, they're going to have their heart broken, they're going to be rejected by people that do not find them attractive, or just ignored by them. So pay attention to those young adults, even up to about 20, in their mid-20s, and see how they're processing high school and college. And that goes for your daughters and your sons, right? There are a lot of terms being thrown about in the Black community by Black men and Black women, Black girls and Black boys, to somewhat try to reconcile not necessarily being attractive to everyone. And we're coming up with these terms because we don't know really what to do with just not being wanted by everyone. And not necessarily knowing what to do with that. And I think that is one of the biggest issues that we have, especially in the Black community, is people not being able to process and deal with, you're okay. There are people that find you attractive, but maybe not all the people that you find attractive. We come up with terms like colorism, texturism, featureism. And quite frankly, as a man, I can tell you right now, you cannot shame men into finding you attractive. They either do or they don't. And if they don't, there is literally nothing you can do in your current form for them to find you attractive. If you weigh 175, 180, you have a shorter haircut, and a guy doesn't find you attractive, in that form, there is nothing you can do. Maybe if you had surgery, maybe you lost weight. If he sees your nose is too broad, there's nothing you can do about that. If he thinks your hair is too coarse, there's nothing you can do about that. That's the same thing with the men. If in your current form, if she doesn't like that you're too skinny or you're too big, there's nothing you can do about that, other than if you're too skinny, go to the gym and get bulk up. And if you're too big, go to the gym and lose some weight. Work on your diet. But the thing that we're having a issue with is that initial sting of the rejection. And it gets even worse as you get older and you find more people attractive, and those people may not necessarily find you attractive. Once again, men go through it, but we have a whole entire culture and language to address the men that go through this. How do we address the women? Especially when they're coming up with terms like featureism, texturism, colorism. And some of this I can give a smidge of credence to. But much of this is just not being able to accept that some of the men that you want don't want you. And that's okay. That is okay, and it's okay to accept that. But we're coming up with shaming language and shaming tactics and insults for men that may not necessarily find certain women attractive. And excuse my background once again, phone chiming, right? And that's okay. It is okay. Ladies, it is okay. I'll end it with that. Once again, we're going to say it one more time. Everybody say it with me. The brain processes rejection the way it processes physical pain. Y'all need to be very careful about how you wallow in sorrow when the type of man you want or the type of woman you want is maybe not necessarily attracted to you. Also, check with your people around you, your young adult friends, associates, family members, relatives. Check in with them and see how they're processing these type of things in high school, in college, because that trauma lasts long. There are plenty of people, and we all know them, in their 30s and their 40s, still fretting about who didn't want them when they were 16 years old, 22 years old, 27 years old, 32 years old, 37 years old, right? We got to get over that. We're forming whole enclaves and ciphers and over people, over groups of people, right, that didn't want us. People are forming whole silos to get in echo chambers just to regurgitate the same talking points to each other, because we want to get in our little bitter groups where we talk about the opposite sex a particular way, especially in the black race, because you may not feel desired. Someone wants you. Do you want who wants you? And oftentimes that's the issue. It's not that you're not wanted. You don't want who wants you. You want what you want, and that's perfectly okay. But stop pretending like no one wants you. Oftentimes that's what it is. Very few of us no one wants. The issue is oftentimes we think we're better than who wants us. The people that find us attractive, and it's not only one person, the people that find us attractive, the people that find us appealing, the people that want to be around us, we don't really want them like that. We want this other person or these other type of people, and those people oftentimes aren't interested in us. And I'll truly end with this. Be careful how you call God, if you believe in God, or the universe bluff. You're saying, you know what? I'll just stay single then. All right. I'd rather die alone. All right. You keep on calling the universe bluff. What about if it really happens? All right, y'all. I'll end with that. Y'all have a great day.